What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic: Crawford, two-time undisputed. Has Michael Jai White become the new prophet of the Errol-Sexuals? Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block the pole, huh? That life before Richie, huh? And I got the glitchy, wanna pull me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, we're gonna talk some boxing. We're gonna chop it up. So, uh, the shockwaves, it looks like the shockwaves from the aftermath of the Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford fight are still being felt in the boxing world and in the community at large. And in the world at large, it looks like even as far away as Hollywood. So we have, even in Hollywood, the aftermath, the shockwave are still being felt after this fight. So we have Hollywood fighter, an actor, Michael Jai White, speaking, about the Errol Spence versus Crawford fight, and he has some choice words to say, right? So we're not going to waste a lot of time, okay, because we want to hear what Michael Jai White have to say, okay. He says, I even have a quote up there from him, well, paraphrasing, where he says, my inside source, and I have it in parenthesis there, Hollywood gossip, because that's basically what it came down to. It was just Hollywood gossip. He was talking, his inside source was some guy. He heard some guy, basically it was hearsay. Okay, so but like I said, we're not gonna waste a lot of time. We're not gonna, we're gonna go straight to the videotape. One thing we're gonna do here at TBE Boxing, and that is this.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties.
That's right, people. We're gonna keep it gangster, and so we're gonna go straight to the videotape, and we're gonna hear what Michael Jai White, prophet of the Errol-Sexuals, have to say. All right, so here we go. Let's listen to Michael Jai White. Hallelujah.
Crawford versus Spence Jr. They're saying there's supposed to be a rematch.
Well, I mean, listen, I had some inside information. And
Okay.
a good friend of mine who trains with Spence and was with Spence like a month beforehand is, pro Spence. He told me, nah, Mike. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you don't have it. I was like, what are you talking about? No, he said, Spence is not a shade of what he was.
Huh.
And this is before the fight. This is a while. He's like, I wish Spence would not take this fight. He's not ready.
Really?
Been in the ring with all that. And I was like, really? And then when I saw Spence, Crawford, I'm like, oh, shoot. He don't look like Spence. And then after that fight, I realized he really is not there. His legs wasn't there. There was so much that was. I'm a big fan of Spence, and I followed. And he's had those accidents he's had, and so in sparring and the things that my friend saw that he told me like a month before, he said he shouldn't fight. And then you start.
Okay, let's hold it right there for a minute. So far, we have heard from Michael Jai White. We haven't heard any eyewitness accounts yet. Everything he's telling us is something his friend saw, his friend told him. I mean, so it's hearsay. He has no eyewitness account of what he's talking about. He just heard what somebody else is saying on the phone. Okay, it sounds like it's not like he even talking to his friend in person. He's on the phone or something like that, talking to some guy on the phone. All right, so uh, I mean, you gotta take it for what it's worth. At the end of the day. So this is Michael Jai White, and he's giving his expertise. But let's continue.
Start putting it together and you go, think about this logically. Has Bud Crawford looked that dominant against anybody? And to do that with Errol Spence, not to try to take things away from Crawford, because, Crawford's amazing. But I think if you
Okay, so he's not trying to take anything away from Crawford, according to him, but he says Crawford is amazing. Okay, uh, if Crawford is amazing, then why does it surprise you what he did to Errol Spence? Because if you believe that Crawford is amazing, as you just said, are you just throwing words away? If you really believe that he's amazing, then you expect him to do amazing things in the ring, right? But let's continue.
start putting it together and you go, well, yeah, I mean, he. A lot of people were trying to go like, all right, yeah, they knew Crawford was going to do that to him. I don't think anybody knew that.
Pause again. So here it is. I love when people say that. They say, "Oh, and it's mostly Errol-Sexuals that say this. They always out there talking about, oh, it was a 50-50 fight, this 50-50 fight, that," and they always talk about how nobody expected that to happen. Well, a lot of people expected that to happen, and people spoke about it. They predicted it. They're all over YouTube talking about it, making comments about it, saying it on channels, talking it. Okay, it's nothing new. But a lot of people expected Crawford to wash Spence and knock him out, and that's exactly what happened. So just because Michael Jai White didn't expect that, because obviously, as you can hear from the way he sounds, he's an Errol-Sexual, and even more than that, he's becoming a prophet of the Errol-Sexuals. So he didn't expect that. Michael Jai White, Hallelujah. He didn't expect that. Okay, just you can hear what he's saying. Oh, nobody expected that. No, don't say nobody expected that. Say that you didn't expect that. That would be the most correct thing to say. Don't put that on everybody else. Just because you didn't know, that don't mean anybody else didn't know. But this is typical of I guess you'd call it I don't know. I don't want to say narcissistic attitude or point of view, but the idea that just because you didn't see it, that means nobody else didn't see it. That's basically what it comes down to. And that's basically what he's saying. So I'm not buying that. A lot of people saw it, and as far as him talking about, have you ever saw Crawford that dominant? Of course you did. If you watch his fights. But if you're Errol-Sexual watching just Spence's fights and PBC fights, and you don't watch all of Crawford's fights, then you wouldn't know anything about his dominance. Or even though it is no excuse for Michael Jai White, because he's supposed to be. He claimed that he's a friend of fighters, okay, and he's around fighters. Even though he's a Hollywood actor in our reality, But he talks like he's a fighter. But if you watch any of Crawford fight, you will see his dominance. You saw his dominance against Book. He knocked him out in 4 rounds. You saw it against Amir Khan. You saw it against Sean Porter, and then you saw it against Errol Spence, and you saw it against a lot of fighters, previous to that. Okay, Delorme. You saw it against. There's so many fights that Crawford has had where he has dominated, okay, because he has never had a close fight. But if you're an Errol Spence fanboy or Errol-Sexual, you wouldn't know nothing about that because you don't watch those fights. You just watch the fights on PBC and think that, you watch Sean Porter and Danny Garcia and guys like that. You think that's all there is in boxing. You know what I mean? So, basically, all I got to say is that, I like Michael Jai White. I mean, I like the guy. He's a I like him in Spawn. Great pioneer superhero movie that he did. That was a great one he did. Probably his best work. You know, and I agree with him. On certain things when he talks about Kingpin Devin Haney and the Lomachenko fight. He said he thought that Lomachenko lost and he thought that Devin won. Yeah, I agree with him on that. But I'm sorry, in this situation, he sounded like a straight casual, like a straight decaf. He sounds just like an Errol-Sexual, and so I just have to call him out on it. But let's continue.
I don't think anybody like that. But Spence does not even seem like himself. And after that fight, it's not because of the damage he took during the fight. There's a difference. A big difference. Again, it sounds like I'm taking away stuff from Crawford. But so be it. I believe Spence, and I believe my friend, that that something's quite different. Nobody's seen. Nobody's seen Spence like that, even as they first started fighting.
So he believes his friend. He says, more gossip. He believes his friend. Something was different when Spence, and yeah, there was something different. The difference was Crawford. That was a difference, and Spence wasn't fighting the typical fighters that's made for him, but he usually fights that stay in front of him. Crawford was giving Spence angles, keeping him off balance. That's why Spence was looking unsteady on his feet because Crawford was giving him movement and angles. I mean, it's just typical ring generalship. If you watch boxing and you know boxing, you can watch it and see that. But Michael Jai White, doesn't seem to understand any of that. Uh, he's talking about. It didn't look like Spence, like a different Spence, and Spence don't look like that. So who was it? A clone of Spence? So I guess he's one of the guys with the clone theory. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I like Michael Jai White. I like him in Spawn, a great movie. Okay, but when it comes to this boxing talk, he sounds like a casual, sound like a flaming Errol-Sexual. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. But we're gonna listen to Michael Jai White expound some more because we want to find out, like, what is. I mean, is he a fighter? Is Michael Jai White a fighter? Is he an actor? What exactly does he do? I mean, he speaks like he knows a lot about fighting, but he doesn't. I haven't seen him in any fights except for in the movies. In Hollywood movies, I've only seen Michael Jai White do Hollywood fights, and he looks great in the Hollywood fights. But I mean, that's stunt work. You know what I mean? So, but let's listen to some more of Michael Jai White because there's one thing we're gonna do with this video. In this video, we're gonna do one thing, and this is this. Yeah, so let's listen to some more of Michael Jai White, let's say fighting wisdom or fighting knowledge because he talks like he's a fighter, and so let's hear what Michael Jai White have to say.
You know,
Oh, by the way, shout out to Vlad TV for some of these clips. I hope he doesn't give me a strike or anything like that. You can go and watch the full video clip or the full interview on DJ Vlad. Okay, go and check it out. But let's continue.
a lot of fighters
Yeah.
personally, right?
Since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the only one that I really know closely. And you're a well balanced person. But when you look at fighters as a whole, people who put food on their table by beating other people up,
Yeah.
how many of them are really imbalanced? For example, there was a story about War Machine,
Yeah.
who beat up his porn star ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend or the guy that was at their house, to the point where he now is doing life in prison. He fucked them up so bad. Life in prison over beating somebody up. I've never even really heard about this. You know, and you know, he of course said he's innocent. He was fighting for his own life, which is nonsense. But how many of these guys have these war machine type triggers that, like, okay, you want me to turn this on in the ring, but you want me to be a normal person outside of the ring? Life doesn't really work that way.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so you heard the question, right? So he's talking about this guy War Machine, and he's asking about guys turning it off and turning it on, right? Fighters. He's talking about fighters now. Listen to what Michael Jai White is gonna say. Let's continue.
And just early on, some of like I said, some of my best friends were fighters, and there's such part of my heart that knows that, like, for me, I loved it. So that's why my whole philosophy was, I can do what I'm doing for a living, working on my career, and find out, oh, this guy won this championship.
Okay, so somehow the thing done flipped around to him, even though that wasn't the question. But he's saying that some of his best friends are fighters, right? And that he loves it so much that he can continue his career. Now, what exactly is his career? Acting. That's what his career is. He's an actor. Oh man! But anyway, so he's an actor, right? There's nothing wrong with acting. That's what he is. So, but he's talking about some of his best friends are fighters, and the question was about fighters, not about him per se. But he's turned into his situation, and he's talking about how some of his best friends were fighters, and that he loved it, and that he can continue on with his career, which is acting, and then fight at the same time. But he's not really fighting. He's basically training and maybe sometimes sparring with some of these guys. Okay, nobody knows how these sparring sessions turned out. We haven't seen any of them. Okay, but this is basically what he's doing. But let's continue.
Championship, go to his gym and train with him, spar with him. That's what I've been doing. Since I was 17, I went build super.
So what he's been doing since he was 17 is going to people's gyms and sparring with them fighters. Not fighting them, but just training and sparring with them. But let's continue.
Wallace was the undisputed, the baddest fighter on the planet, right? I became a sparring partner with him when I was 17. He was undefeated, middleweight champion. Also, Joe Lewis. There's a Joe L.
So he used to spar with Bill Superfoot Wallace, and the way he said it, like I used to spar with Bill Superfoot Wallace. He's undefeated. He's saying that Bill Superfoot Wallace is undefeated. It's almost like saying that he's undefeated. But that's the way it sounds to me anyway. But let's continue.
EWIS heavyweight champion, rock solid, one of the baddest, most dangerous fighters there were. I went to North Carolina to train and with him and his crazy bunch of folks, and later became friends and did seminars with him. Maurice Smith was the UFC champion when I went to Seattle to train and spar with him in his gym. So that's what I've done my entire life.
So what you have done your entire life is go and train and work with guys who are fighters, but you yourself have never actually fought. You don't fight for a living. You're an actor, right? So this is what Michael Zawad just said. That's what he's been doing his whole life. He's been going to gyms, fighting with guys, sparring with them, and basically, but we have never seen any of these sparring sessions ever. I mean, maybe somebody else has seen it. I haven't seen any. I would love to see one, but it is what it is. So this is what he's saying. This is what he's doing. Now, but he has a reputation as some type of a fighter. It seems like it, but is he really a fighter or is he an actor? We need more information, so let's continue.
So I've always wanted to test myself against the best people. And and the respect I've garnered from that, and that's why usually people don't call me out because they know I really do this, and it's
Whoa, well, hold on there. So he's always wanted to test himself against the best people, but he only does that in sparring, in training, not in fighting, in actual fighting. And he's saying that the reason why people don't call him out is because they know that he really does this. Really does what? You're an actor. They're gonna call you out to act. What do they call you out for? To fight? Because you're not a fighter. You're an actor. So why would they call you out when you're not a fighter? But we're gonna see if anybody's gonna call him out and what he actually does when somebody do call him out. But you know, uh, let's go ahead and continue.
not about an ego thing. It's about getting better and exchanging knowledge. I love this shit. So, with the boxing and everything else, I've always done that, and I
So not only does he do fighting, karate, he does boxing as well, right? He's a boxer. Let's continue.
still do it, right? So that's my philosophy. The martial arts ethic and philosophy is bettering yourself. And martial arts and fight is a tool for that. There's a lot of folks who might have been into the sport aspect of it because of whatever reason. There could be something that they're I'm not saying everybody has any kind of psychological damage, but a lot of them might, a lot of the people who fight for a living, there are other things that go along with that. When you say fighter,
A lot of people do anything for a living. There's a lot of things that goes along with that, no matter what you do for a living. So everybody have their own idiosyncrasies and their own issues and problems, whatever. It doesn't make a difference if you're fighting, if you do a 9 to 5, or whatever you do. Okay, a lot of people lead double lives and have have a lot of issues or whatever. So I'm not sure exactly where he's going with this, but let's continue.
arrested, there's a lot, there's a lot of response to that.
Yeah.
And but these fighters that you love, sometimes I feel like, man, love them when they step out of the ring, because if they're providing this thing for you that everybody's like, yeah, man, he's my man, or whatever. But I happen to know these people outside of the ring, and sometimes the next chapter in their life doesn't look so sweet.
Right. So
Yeah.
if you were to say, what percentage of fighters that you know can get triggered on a war machine level, where they just completely...
No, I say the war machine thing is a rare situation.
It is.
Yeah, it's a rare situation. Because when people do it, because war machine, he really didn't do it at a high level. Really.
He was not a major.
No, he wasn't. The reason you know him is because he flipped the hell in with what he did.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we heard enough of that. So here we're seeing Michael Jai talk about his life. He's basically saying he's around fighters, and that's all he's around, basically around a lot of fighters, and he loves fighting, and he does it for a living. He likes to exchange knowledge with different fighters. What knowledge is exchanged with them, I'm not sure, because he doesn't fight for a living. So I don't see how, what is exactly he exchanging with them. But again, that's neither here nor there. He says that he loves to do that, and that it's not an ego thing. It's about exchanging and sharing knowledge, right? And that he's a fighter. Basically, he's trying to come across as if he's some kind of a fighter, but his career is actually acting. He's an actor. So he fights in Hollywood, not in real life. Okay, but let's continue and listen to some more of Michael Jai White talk about his fighting career, because if you notice in this picture here, in this image, you see it says, "What will they say when I dominate?" Because the reason this is here is because Michael Jai White said he'd never seen Crawford that dominant against anyone as he was against Spence, right? So the answer to that is, what will they say when I dominate and stop Canelo at 168 pounds? And he said, stick to acting, Jai. You play fight. I fight for real. Are you still ducking Mike Perry? So this is going to take us into the next situation, which is Mike Perry and Jai White, because there's some kind of controversy about those two, and so we're gonna visit that or revisit it, so to speak. So here it is. Mike Perry. Uh, Mike Perry had called out Michael Jai White, and you see, he said, "I'd mess you up." I don't want to say the word, and you see, he says, "Are you serious?" Now, this whole thing, controversy between him and Mike Perry, was over Kimbo Slice, where there was a video clip of Michael Jai White showing uh, Kimbo Slice some type of technique. Okay, uh, he called it his prison break technique or something like that. Right? So I saw that. What it was he'd have Kimbo Slice. He'd tell Kimbo Slice to move his hand. He's gonna try to punch his hand, and he should move it. And he'd throw press punches at Kimbo Slice's hand, and Kimbo would slip the punches with his hand. He'd move his hand out the way before Michael Jai could hit him. And then Michael Jai said, "Okay, well, now watch this." And so he told Kimbo Slice, and then he threw a slow punch, and he touched Kimbo Slice's hand before he could move it away. But I mean, from what I can see, that was no technique, or to me, just looked like misdirection, like what a magician would do. Like tell you something and then have that, like misdirection, tell you something and then do something else, right? So that's it didn't look like much to me. But anyway, this is what Mike Perry took objection to when he said that, basically it looked like Michael Jai White was trying to act like he's teaching Kimbo Slice something, because he's like act like he's some type of great teacher or great fighter, that he could actually teach a real fighter, which Kimbo Slice was a real fighter, okay, as opposed to being a Hollywood fighter. And so I think Mike Perry, being a real fighter himself, a UFC fighter, took exception to the fact that you had a Hollywood fighter in Michael Jai White trying to teach a real fighter about fighting, and I think he took exception to that, and he called out Michael Jai White, called him a bitch ass ninja. You know what I mean? And and then when he had a lot of backlash to that because he's a white guy, he said, "Yeah, I'm 2% black," and and he doubled down and still and called out Michael Jai White. So what did Michael Jai White do about that situation? He's been around fighting his whole life. He has a fighting mentality, right? What did he do? Well, let's listen to what he did.
Well, in another part of that interview, you talked about Kimbo Slice and working with him and so forth.
Yeah.
And a UFC fighter that I'd never heard of, named Mike Perry, was upset with some things you said. And, Mike Perry's a white guy.
Yeah.
And he called you a bitch ass N-word.
Yeah.
On Twitter. And stood behind it.
Yeah, listen. I mean, let me tell you, I've gone to people's gyms and be like, "What's up?" in a second. This cat, when I basically looked into it, I said, "Let me check on this," and I realized, oh, my man is not well.
Okay, let's hold it right there. You're not gonna get away that fast. So this guy Mike Perry, who's like about 170, 80 pounds, called him up. This guy is 230 pounds, right? Michael Jai White. This guy calls him out, right? Basically calling him a fraud, right? He's not basically saying that he's not a real fighter. He's just a Hollywood actor, basically. That's what this guy is saying. So he calls out Jai, and what does Jai do? What does Jai say? You heard what he just said, right? He looked into it, and he saw that this guy wasn't well. What? Let's go back over that.
And, Mike Perry's a white guy.
Yeah.
And he called you a bitch ass N-word.
Yeah.
On Twitter. And stood behind it.
Yeah, listen. I mean, let me tell you, I've gone to people's gyms and be like, "What's up?"
So his response was, "I've gone to people's gym and say what's up." Well, what does it have to do with this guy calling you out? The guy's calling you out for a real fight. He's not calling you out to come to his gym and play around. He's calling you out for a real fight. So what are you talking about? But let's continue.
In a second. This cat, well, I basically looked into it and I said, let me check on this. And then I realized, oh, my man is not well. In my YouTube channel, right, I have an assistant named Alan Joban, who is a UFC fighter. And I've trained with Alan for, I help him out. Alan beat the shit out of Mike Perry. You could look at it. It's like,
Okay, okay. So he said he claims he got a YouTube assistant who's a fighter, and his fighter beat Mike Perry. So what does it have to do with you, Mike Jai White? What does it have to do with just because your YouTube assistant beat Mike Perry, your YouTube assistant who's actually a real fighter? Okay, beat Mike Perry. What does it have to do with you and Mike Perry fighting? That's what I want to know. What does it have to do with you fighting Mike Perry? Just because your YouTube assistant beat him, that means you can beat him too? Because you train with all these guys, that means so you're saying because you train with all these top fighters and all that, a guy like a real fighter like Mike Perry can't touch you because you trained with your YouTube assistant who is a real fighter and he beat Mike Perry. But let's continue.
Beat the hell out of Mike Perry. Mike Perry is just, it's kind of jacked up because on one level, why I chose not to speak about anything else, because my man, he doesn't know anything. He may have a friendship with Kimbo Slice, and he feels like I disrespected Kimbo. I didn't. I never told what Kimbo actually did say to me, all right? Which is, you asked Icy Mike, who was with Kimbo all the time, and when me and Kimbo would try to train together, if I said what Kimbo actually said to me, he'd really be pissed off. But Kimbo didn't have ego. He was really trying to learn what he needed to do to become a better fighter. People like Boss Newton tried to help him out, tried to get him the skills to get him on that next level. Yeah, I sparred with Kimbo. I like to talk about.
Okay, so you sparred with Kimbo. So what? What does that mean? Were you one of the guys trying to get Kimbo to the next level? This is what Mike Perry is talking about. So you sparred with Kimbo Slice. Were you training Kimbo? I mean, or were you just, trying to learn something about real fighting? Okay, so this is, what there seems to be some confusion here about this. Michael Jai White is talking, as if he's some type of big time fighter, but he's not really a fighter. He's an actor. He's a Hollywood actor. I've never seen him fight in any fight at all, except for Hollywood. I've never seen a real fight from Michael Jai White. Not even a real sparring session, much less a fight. So all this talk about you training with these fighters and nobody don't call you out because they know you do this for real. You do what for real? You're an actor, bro. What are you talking about? What is it you do for real? And if you're a real fighter, then fight. I would love to see you take on this guy Mike Perry. He called you a ninja, a bitch ass ninja. Then you should take him on. You should go out there and defend your honor. Don't tell him. No, I don't want to hear nothing about this guy he's not well. What do you mean he's not well? He's making money doing fights in the UFC, and now here's a bare knuckle fighter as well making good money, probably making more money than you. But let's continue.
How somebody clown me, or like what people did against me that was good. Like I even mentioned in that same thing where one time me and Billy Blanks were clowning around and he swept me and hit me before I hit the ground. We were clowning around, we were having fun. And I'll brag about how one of the worst sparring matches I ever had was with Mike Bisping, and I ran out of gas after the first round. But like I don't like to sound like I beat the hell out. I won't talk about that stuff so much.
Okay. So now you see he's trying to do some cleanup here because he realizes that, he knows why Mike Perry, you know, came at him. He's saying that Mike Perry felt like he disrespected Kimbo Slice, but he didn't. That's not why Mike Perry came at you because he didn't feel that you just disrespected Kimbo Slice. He felt that you disrespected fighters, real fighters, by acting like you a real fighter and you're not. Okay, and talking like you're a real fighter and you're not, and acting like you're training real fighters and you're probably not. I mean, you could be. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, you talk like you're a real fighter. You talk about training with all these fighters. You always talking about you do this for real. Nobody call you out. You talk like you're a badass, and you talking like you better than these real fighters that, and you never really fought anywhere. So that's disrespectful. And this is what Mike Perry is talking about. So here you see Jai White realizes what uh, Perry is talking about, even though the interview might not. Even though I think the interview realized it also, but that's Vlad. But I think so. Here, Michael Jai White is trying to clean up his act by saying, "Oh, he like to tell stories about how he got beat up by Billy Blanks, and how whatever so and so guy swept him. He's trying to make tell some deprecatory stories where he's not the badass. He's the guy on the other end of it to clean up to make it look good. To make it look like he's not just going around bragging like he's a real fighter. But that's what he does. But let's continue.
That's weak. But this whole thing with this guy Mike Perry, there's a part of me that goes, man, my heart goes out to fighters. They put their butts on the line. They but once that crowd dies down, a lot of these fans, I say, hey man, check on them then. Because that's when they really
So so now we see Michael Jai White going into he's coming out of profit mode, and he's now going into mental health mode now, right? So the guy asked him about Vlad asked him about this guy calling him out, and he's talking about mental health and whatever. But let's continue.
need your support. I feel like Mike Perry, I hope, even though he said that N-word thing, and if I see him, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to see that dude. He doesn't know what he's. Let me just
Because he's actually offering to fight you.
listen.
He said, so fight me or pay me.
He's an idiot. Okay, he's an idiot.
And he weighs.
It's like he's
All right. So the guy's offering to fight you, and you're saying when you see him. What do you mean when you see him? When you see him, what? You're gonna fight him when you see him? You're gonna go to his gym and spar with him or train with him? Is that what you're gonna do? No. The man is offering to fight you, Michael Jai White. So take it, take up his fight, take on the fight. Don't tell me about he's not well and this and that, and when you see him, he's gonna have to see. No. The man is offering. The man challenged you. He called you out for a fight. And you're talking about when you see him. You can see him anytime you want because he already called you out. So all you have to do is set the date and go see him. But we don't see that. But let's continue.
he's so out of. I'm like, look, if he could stop, I can tell him what I'm gonna hit him with. He can't stop.
Okay, and let me just say,
He can tell him what he's going to hit him when it sounds like one of his movies, right? But let's continue.
he weighs 170 pounds, and you weigh
230.
230. So you got 50 pounds on him, which is not everything, because I weigh more than him and he could whip my ass, right? But I'm not a fighter.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. When you
You're not a fighter, Vlad, and neither is Michael Jai White. He's a Hollywood actor / fighter. Okay? Let's continue.
don't have to wait. I mean, okay. It's a whole big difference, man. Like, come on, man. I fight heavyweights that can hit me full blast.
Okay, he fights heavyweights that could hit him full blast. No, you don't fight heavyweights that can hit you full blast. You train or you spar with heavyweights. You don't fight them. You see, this is where Michael Jai White is getting mixed up, and this is where I think Mike Perry is, is feeling disrespected, because this guy is talking like, I fight heavy. No, you don't fight heavyweights. You never fought a heavyweight. I've never seen you fight any heavyweights. I've never seen you in a fight without a heavyweight anywhere, unless you had a fight and I missed it. But you spar or you might train with these guys. But let's continue.
So you like way less, and you think you're gonna hurt me? You it's like, okay, yeah. So let's just box. You think you could? Oh, you can stop. You can stop it. Like you can stop what I'm doing. Okay, let's see. Let's have.
So he's offering to box the guy, not just fight him in UFC, but he's box him. Okay, well, let's see it. I mean, let's get it on, Michael Jai White. Why just talk? But let's continue. Let's hear what he got to say, because this is pretty interesting.
I could do, but it's like, is that worth my time? Is that worth my time?
Okay, so what happens if you run into him? If he just walks in right now and sits down next to you, what'll happen?
My thing is like, I say, hey, come to the gym. I'll go to your like, let's whatever, and let's see you speak all like that. There's a part of me that's like, I hate.
So if the guy comes into the scene right now, he's gonna say, "Let's go to the gym." So he's gonna go there and train and spar with him. He don't want to fight the guy. The guy's offering to fight you a real fight, and you talk about, if you see him, we can go to your gym. Yeah, this guy is something else. But listen, Mike, Michael Jai White, you're not a fighter, bro. You're an actor, and it is what it is. But let's continue and listen to what Michael Jai White has to say. Hallelujah.
Hearing myself sound like that because it's beneath me.
He don't like hearing himself sound like that because calling telling the guy to meet him at the gym because it's beneath him. Beneath you as what? It's beneath you. What, are you, a champion? So it's beneath you to fight a guy like Mike Perry, who's an actual fighter, and you are not. It's beneath you. You're not a champion. You're not a fighter. You're an actor. So how is it beneath you to fight a guy who's actually a real fighter? You're talking as if you're some kind of a champion. You're not a champion. You're not no big time fighter. You're not no elite fighter. You're an actor, not even an elite actor. You're a B actor. So what is it exactly you're talking about is beneath you? I don't get it. But let's continue.
I don't like somebody. I don't like people trying to bully anybody and talking craziness. So my thing was like, yo, come holler at me. You could DM me. This is not a problem. You come. I'm sure you come to LA. It ain't that hard. It ain't that hard. But then I'm telling you, if I hurt this dude, I'm not gonna be proud of it, and I'm not gonna be bragging on it. It's like, what is part of me is like, would feel, come on, man, like, come on, like he doesn't. I see what his skill set looks like. He needs help, but I think he's gonna need a lot more help than that in life. I think he's his biggest enemy.
Okay, so you see what his skill set looks like. The guy's going, okay, so take him on. If his skill set is nothing, he's not that good, then take him on and fight. He called you a BAM, a BAN, a bitch ass ninja. So he wants to fight you. He called you out in a real fight. You're a big time fighter, right? So go ahead and take on the fight. But no, he's making all kind of excuses about why he's not going to fight the guy, this, that, the other. Is it going to be worth his while? Is it worth it? And then another part of this interview, he also talked about how he could have been a fighter, but he thought about being a fighter, but but they don't make no money, and then he compare UFC to boxing, and he see that they don't even compare much because boxers make way more. Then why didn't you go into boxing then? If you say you box and you're still doing it according to what you just said, then why didn't you go into boxing? Where boxers make a lot of money, but you didn't go into boxing, and you claim you can box, and you're an actor. So you're saying UFC don't make that much. I mean, it depends on where you are in the UFC. If you're an elite fighter, which I'm assuming that a great fighter as you think that you are, you would have been an elite fighter, right? So that means you'd have been in the top tier making top money. But, let's see what Michael Jai White, you know, he say that, it's not worth his while to fight a guy like, Mike Perry. It's not, is it going to be worth his while? Because, I mean, I don't get it because nowadays you have like, celebrity fights. You have Jake Paul, you have Logan Paul, you have KSI. All these guys are boxing and making millions of dollars, right? Millions. And so Michael Jai White, if he's just a great fighter, why you not joining into that? And you can still do your Hollywood career and be a fighter and fight, in these celebrity matches and make millions of dollars like Jake Paul and like KSI and all these other guys are doing, and make more money than you're doing playing. As a matter of fact, let's see what money that Michael Jai White is making. Let's take a look. Okay, so here it is. So here, the actor Michael Jai White. This is what his net worth is as of September 2023. $10 million. All right. So $10 million. Now, it says Spawn. That's a great movie, by the way. Spawn, one of the pioneer superhero movies. Real good quality. In terms of money that they spent on the movie, I think it wasn't a big budget, but it was big enough back in those days. And Mike did a pretty good job in that movie. Mike Jai White did a pretty good job. Anyway, but look at his net worth, right? So $10 million. Let's just be generous. Let's say it's $20 billion, right? He's in Hollywood, he's making $20 million. Okay, I mean Spence and Crawford made more than that in their last fight. They made more than $20 million. Way more than 10 for sure. Right? So it's not like Michael Jai White is making any big money in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Let's so really Michael is a B actor. So in Hollywood he's making, that's probably good for a B actor, I guess. I don't know. But at the end of the day, his position in Hollywood, if he was in boxing, he would be like a contender. Maybe rated number 15 or number 12 or somewhere around there. That would be the equivalent. Let's compare his Hollywood net worth to somebody else like Vin Diesel. All right, look at Vin Diesel. So we see Vin Diesel, a renowned figure in Hollywood, boasts a net worth of 225 million as of 2023. So now we see the difference, right? So from a fighter's perspective, if there were fighters, then Vin Diesel would be an elite, top level, top tier champion. Okay, probably undisputed at some point in his career, as opposed to Jai White, who would just be a contender, and lucky if he's in the top 10. Okay, probably not even in the top 10 as a fighter. So it's not like Michael Jai White is making a whole bunch of money in Hollywood. Like I said, just double his net worth, and we can say, okay, he's making $20 million. That's what he's made. But I mean, at the end of the day, he can go into a celebrity fighting and make, $10 million in one fight, actually. So I don't see what he's talking about. That he didn't go into fighting because there's no money. There's plenty of money in fighting right now, especially as a celebrity, and he's some sort of a celebrity, so he can go into celebrity boxing and make some money and actually fight and continue with his career without actually becoming a fighter. Okay, he can do celebrity matches and make big money, but we don't even see him even doing that. He's not even doing that. Okay, but he's a great fighter, and he's this and he's that, and he fought with Bill Superfoot Wallace. He trained with this guy and that guy, and he goes to gyms all over and trains with different guys and exchange knowledge with them and all of that. Okay, yeah, well, like they say, talk is cheap, and action speaks louder than words. So I would love to see Michael Jai White, instead of talking about he never seen nobody dominate like Crawford did Spence. He never seen you need to go out there and try to do some of these celebrity fights yourself, and let's see what you have. I mean, you try to seem like you're a great fighter, but are you really a great fighter? I'd love to see. I would pay to see Michael Jai White do a celebrity boxing match against somebody. I would love to see it. I would like to actually see him fight outside of the movies, because the only place I've ever seen Michael Jai White fight is in his movies. That's about it. I've never seen him in a real fight. I love to see him fight for real. I'd even pay to see him fight for real. So, with that said, people, I'm gonna leave it there because a lot of people out there speaking on boxing that really probably shouldn't really talk. You never seen that wasn't the real Spence. And what was it, a clone? So at the end of the day, it looked like Michael Jai White is just another Errol-Sexual, and maybe at this point, with Boxing Ego and 7 Day Sports jumping on the bandwagon, it looked like he's becoming a prophet for the Errol-Sexuals, and so it is what it is. But like I said, with that said, one thing we're gonna make sure we do on this site, and at every time we're gonna make sure we do this. We're gonna Okay, people. With that said, I'm gonna leave it there. This is TBE Boxing saying I'm out.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. It's a lot that I chose, on the block the pole, This is the life that I chose, on the block the pole, That life before Richie, And I got the glitzy, run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you